This sacred narration unfolds from the timeless wisdom of the Shrimad Bhagavatam, one of the most revered texts in Sanatan Dharma. Within it lies Skandha 8, revealing the great cosmic event of the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean of existence. In this series of reflections, each episode unveils a moment of this divine unfolding. This is episode 9, the Apsaras, heavenly dancers of grace. Before nectar, before immortality, came beauty. And so, in the ancient age of the cosmos, the great ocean roared with relentless power. Mount Mandara groaned under the strain of churning. The mighty serpent Vasuki, pulled from both ends by Devas and Asuras, released fumes of exhaustion. For a moment, the universe seemed suspended between effort and destiny. The Devas and the Asuras worked together, yet their hearts were divided. Each sought the same nectar, but their intentions were not the same. From the churning depths, wonders had already begun to appear. First came terror, the deadly poison Halahala, so powerful it threatened to destroy all worlds. Compassion alone saved creation. Lord Shiva stepped forward and drank the poison, holding it within his throat to protect the universe. The churning continued. Soon, treasures began to rise from the cosmic waters. Kamadhenu, the wish-fulfilling celestial cow. Uchchaishravas, the radiant horse of heaven. Airavata, the majestic white elephant. Kalpavriksha, the divine tree that grants all desires. Each emergence shifted the atmosphere. Each treasure carried its own power. Yet the ocean was not finished. The waters shimmered once more, not with danger, not with weapons, not with wealth, but with something far more subtle. A gentle fragrance began to spread. A soft radiance touched the air, calming the harshness of ambition. And from the depths of the cosmic ocean, beauty began to rise. From the milky waves of the cosmic ocean, something extraordinary appeared. Celestial maidens began to rise, luminous, graceful, radiant beyond earthly comparison. The scriptures describe them as beings of extraordinary beauty, adorned with divine ornaments, moving with effortless elegance. These were the Apsaras. Their very name carries the essence of movement, derived from api meaning water and saras meaning flow or motion. The word evokes beings born of the waters, fluid, shimmering, alive with grace. They did not emerge with thunder, they unfolded gently, like moonlight spreading across a still lake. Their anklets chimed softly like distant temple bells. Their eyes held a quiet intelligence tempered with serenity. Their presence carried neither aggression nor hunger. They were something else entirely. They were art made visible, and in that moment even rivalry paused. The Devas looked upon them with admiration, the Asuras gazed with desire. The same beauty stood before both. Yet the response was different, subtle, but profound. The purpose of the Apsaras was never random. Why would celestial dancers emerge from the churning of the cosmic ocean? The Samudra Manthan was a divine orchestration. Every treasure, every ratna emerged with intention. And so the Apsaras appeared to populate the heavenly realms, to restore aesthetic harmony after cosmic imbalance, to grace the divine court of Indra, and to embody the sacred arts, music, dance, and beauty itself. After the curse of sage Durvasa had weakened the Devas, the heavens had lost their radiance. Power alone does not sustain heaven. Order alone does not inspire joy. Art refines power. Beauty softens authority. And so the Apsaras arrived, not as ornament, but as restorers of balance. They brought celebration back into Svarga. They were never accidents of creation. They were a necessary return of harmony. And yet, there was another layer to their emergence. The Apsaras appeared before Lakshmi, before Amrit. The sequence is not accidental. Before abundance arrives, refinement must awaken. Before immortality is granted, attraction must be faced. The churning of the cosmos does not reveal nectar at once. It first reveals allure, for the universe teaches in order. Imagine the exhaustion of the great churning. The day was strained with hope, the Asuras strained with ambition, both pulled with all their strength, seeking the same nectar of immortality. Yet their motives were not the same, and in the midst of that immense effort, something unexpected appeared. Beauty. The Apsaras had risen. Moments like this often occur in life. When effort becomes intense, something new appears. Recognition, attraction, admiration, sometimes even temptation. Whenever a person begins serious effort, to be whether spiritual, professional, or personal, attention increases. The Apsaras symbolize that delicate turning point. Will one remain focused or become distracted? But the Apsaras are not villains. They are not obstacles created in anger. They are mirrors. The Shrimad Bhagavatam presents them. Without judgment, they are part of divine creation. Yet how one responds to beauty reveals the maturity of the soul. The Shrimad Bhagavatam tells us that celestial maidens rose from the churning ocean, but other scriptures give them names. They are not anonymous dancers. They are remembered. Across the Vedas, Itihasas, and Puranas, these radiant beings appear again and again, like living threads woven through sacred history. Let us meet a few of them. Among the most celebrated of the Apsaras is Urvashi. Her name suggests something wide and expansive. She appears as early as the Rig Veda in a poignant dialogue with King Pururavas, a story of love, separation, and longing. Later in the Mahabharata, she encounters the warrior Arjuna in the celestial court of Indra. Enchanted by his beauty and valor, she approaches him. But Arjuna bows. He sees in her the wife of one of his ancestors. He addresses her as mother. Hurt by the rejection, Urvashi curses him to lose his manhood. Yet even this curse becomes divine design. During his exile, Arjuna lives in disguise as Brihanala, a teacher of dance and music. See the subtle teaching. Beauty approached him, but he did not collapse into desire. He remained anchored in Dharma, and what appeared as a curse became protection. Urvashi is not a villain. She is a catalyst. Through her story, we learn attraction does not control the disciplined, it reveals them. Another famous Apsara is Menaka. Her story appears in the Ramayana. The sage Vishwamitra had entered such intense austerities that even the heavens grew uneasy. Fearing the power of his tapas, Indra sent Menaka. She descended like spring itself. Her anklets sang. Her beauty shimmered in the forest air. The sage opened his eyes. Years of penance softened. In a moment of human tenderness, from their union was born Shakuntala, and from Shakuntala came Emperor Bharata, after whom India, Bharata, takes its name. The story resists simple judgment. Was Menaka a temptress or an instrument of cosmic balance? Was Vishwamitra weak or simply human on the path to transcendence? Menaka reminds us, even great seekers must face the unfinished within themselves. Another renowned Apsara is Rambha. In a later episode connected with Vishwamitra, she too is sent to disturb his meditation. But this time the sage reacts differently, not with desire, but with anger. In fury, he curses Rambha to become stone. And here the teaching deepens. Desire can bind, but so can anger. Beauty does not only test longing, it also tests the ego. Rambha's story reminds us, if temptation does not conquer us, pride might. The churning of consciousness reveals many layers, not only desire, but reaction. In the Mahabharata, the gods created another Apsara named Tilottama. Her form was crafted from the finest particles of beauty. She was sent to disrupt the demon brothers, Sunda and Upasunda. Their unity had made them invincible. Tilottama did not fight, she simply appeared. Her beauty divided their attention. Desire turned them against one another, and in their conflict they destroyed themselves. Tilottama reveals a subtle truth. Division often begins in desire. Even powerful alliances collapse when ego competes for possession. She was not a weapon, she was a mirror, reflecting the hidden desires of those who gazed upon her. Another Apsara appears quietly in many Puranic stories. Her name is Gritachi. Unlike the others, her presence is not dramatic. She appears in the lives of sages, whose austerities soften into creative inspiration. Some traditions even trace the birth of great figures to encounters with her. Gritachi represents another face of beauty, not temptation, but inspiration. For beauty does not always distract. Sometimes it awakens creation. Across many scriptures, the Apsaras appear in different roles. Sometimes they are companions in the celestial court of Indra. At other times, they are sent to disturb excessive austerity. They appear as instruments of destiny, as creators of lineage, and often as mirrors reflecting desire. Yet they never move as forces of chaos. Their presence unfolds within the orchestration of the divine. And this detail matters. For in these stories, the feminine is not demonized, it is contextualized. The Apsaras are expressions of Shakti, the graceful and alluring power woven into creation. They are not Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity. They are not Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. They belong to a subtler realm. They embody rasa, the sacred emotion that gives life its color and movement. Beauty is not accidental. It is part of the cosmic design. Without beauty, existence becomes mechanical. Without restraint, beauty becomes binding. The balance lies in awareness, in that quiet discernment which recognizes beauty without losing inner equilibrium, and which witnesses the movements of the mind without being governed by them. The scriptures speak of celestial encounters, but the deeper reading turns inward, for the Apsara does not live only in heaven, she also appears within the human mind. The Apsara is the idea that fascinates, the praise that intoxicates, the recognition that inflates, the pleasure that lingers a little too long. Whenever effort becomes intense, in spiritual practice, in career, in reputation, or influence, something begins to shimmer. Attention gathers, attraction follows, and a quiet question appears. Will one remain steady, or will the churning pause? For the Samudra Manthan is not only a cosmic event, it is also deeply personal. Within every seeker, treasures begin to rise. But so do distractions. The Apsaras symbolize that delicate moment when beauty appears before nectar, and the soul must choose. Will it become entangled in attraction or remain anchored in awareness? For in that subtle pause, the direction of consciousness is decided towards fleeting charm or towards inner steadiness and higher purpose. Thus, the real test is not the presence of beauty, but the steadiness of the mind that beholds it. There is a profound symbolism in the order of emergence. The Apsaras appeared first. Only later did Goddess Lakshmi arise from the ocean, radiant, sovereign, the embodiment of prosperity. But before abundance appears, refinement must arise. The Apsaras introduced aesthetic harmony into the cosmos. They softened the turbulence created by the great churning. They reminded creation of an eternal truth. Power without grace becomes tyranny. Art refines ambition, music softens aggression, dance releases rigidity. In this way, the Apsaras prepared the atmosphere for Lakshmi's arrival. For in the deeper symbolism of the story, refinement precedes abundance, grace precedes wealth, awareness precedes immortality. When the mind becomes purified through discernment and balance, it becomes a worthy vessel for divine grace. Seen in this light, the Apsaras represent attraction, Lakshmi represents grace, and inner awareness becomes the true eligibility for divine blessings. In the ancient scriptures, austerity is never described as a silent act alone. Tapas does not merely create stillness, it generates force. When a sage enters deep tapas, long discipline, meditation, restraint, and unwavering concentration, something extraordinary begins to arise. Not merely peace, not merely wisdom, but tejas, a spiritual radiance. This radiance is often described as heat, not the heat of anger, not the heat of agitation, but the heat of concentrated consciousness, a fire born from inner discipline. And this subtle heat does not remain unnoticed. The universe feels it, the heavens feel it, even the throne of Indra begins to tremble. For when tapas grows intense, it reshapes the balance of power within the cosmos. In many stories of the Itihasas and Puranas, the austerities of great sages grow so powerful that they begin to influence the balance of the cosmos itself. Mountains tremble, the devas become alert, the celestial realms grow watchful. Why? Because tapas is not passive, it is creative power. When discipline is sustained for years, it gathers strength. Slowly, quietly, it accumulates into a subtle authority, a radiance capable of rivaling even the devas. Thus, when sages such as Vishwamitra performed severe austerities, the celestial realms did not react with simple jealousy. They responded with concern for balance. This is a deeply misunderstood aspect of Sanatan literature. These stories are not merely about rivalry, they are about cosmic equilibrium. The universe does not move in chaos, it moves in balance. When austerity rises, balance must accompany it. When power accumulates, refinement must soften it. When intensity deepens, grace must enter. And so, the emergence of the Apsaras during the churning of the cosmic ocean was not accidental. They were not ornaments of the story, they were subtle instruments of cosmic equilibrium. Their beauty restored harmony at a moment when the universe itself was undergoing profound churning. For creation does not sustain itself through force alone, it is sustained through harmony between strength and beauty, between discipline and grace, between effort and refinement. In many retellings of the ancient stories, one line is repeated again and again. Indra feared losing his throne. But the deeper theological reading is far more refined. Indra does not merely represent a king, he represents something larger. He embodies governance, he represents cosmic order. He is the guardian of balance within the celestial realms. In this light, Indra becomes a symbol of cosmic administration. And when the tapas of a powerful ascetic begins to grow immense, the question is not simply who holds the throne. The deeper question is balance, for austerity, without emotional refinement, can generate enormous power, and power, without inner stillness, can distort creation. Thus, Indra's response is not always insecurity, it is vigilance. He observes the rise of tapas, not as an enemy but as a force that must be harmonized. Now comes one of the most delicate teachings within these ancient stories. If the cosmos wished to obstruct a sage through force, it could send storms. If it wished to frighten him, it could send calamities. But instead, the cosmos sends beauty. An Apsara does not challenge through confrontation. She does not argue. She does not threaten. She simply appears with grace, with elegance, with softness. And this reveals something extraordinary about spiritual testing. The greatest disturbances in life are rarely loud. They are attractive. They are pleasant. They are subtle. They are gentle invitations away from focus. In this way, beauty becomes not an instrument of destruction, but an instrument of revelation. Revelation of what? Revelation of the inner state, of the seeker. In the scriptural understanding, beauty does not expose sin, nor weakness, nor failure. Instead, it reveals something deeper. It reveals attachment, desire, ego, emotional maturity, and the true stability of the mind. The Apsaras do not create these tendencies. They simply illuminate what already resides within the heart. This teaching must be understood with great care and great dignity. The scriptures do not reduce the feminine to temptation. The Apsaras are not portrayed as immoral forces. They are celestial beings, refined, artistic, luminous. They do not force sages. They do not deceive through cruelty. They do not wage war against austerity. They simply appear. If disturbance arises, it does not arise from them. It arises from within, the observer. Therefore, the true teaching of these stories is not woman causes downfall. The deeper teaching is this: unresolved attachment reveals itself in the presence of beauty. This distinction is profound, for it protects two sacred things: the dignity of the feminine and the integrity of the spiritual path. The stories of the Apsaras reveal a recurring pattern within the scriptures. The seeker is rarely tested, only once. The testing unfolds in stages. First comes desire. If desire is resisted, another force appears, ego. And when ego is challenged, a third force often emerges, anger. This pattern appears clearly in the story of the great sage Vishwamitra. His encounter with Menaka reveals lingering desire. His later encounter with Rambha reveals lingering anger. Seen superficially, these episodes appear as failures, but the deeper reading reveals something more compassionate. They are stages of refinement, for the seeker must learn not only to control attraction, but also to master reaction. because uncontrolled anger can bind the soul just as deeply as uncontrolled desire. Now, the story returns to the cosmic ocean. During the great Samudra Manthan, the Apsaras emerge. Before the nectar of immortality, the sequence is not accidental. Before immortality, the cosmos reveals attraction. Before the ultimate reward, the seeker must face distraction. Before divine nectar appears, there is first the gentle allure of beauty. It is as if the universe itself whispers a question. Are you steady, even in the presence of beauty? Seen in this way, the emergence of the Apsaras is not decorative, it is instructional, a quiet teaching woven into the rhythm of the cosmos itself. There is another truth in these stories, one that is often overlooked. The Apsaras are not punishments sent in cruelty, they are instruments of refinement. If a seeker falters, the lesson deepens. If the seeker remains steady, the tapas matures. And if the seeker reacts with anger, ego reveals itself. In every outcome, growth is possible. This is the quiet compassion hidden within the test. The cosmos does not merely reward effort, it refines the one who makes the effort, and the lesson rarely appears. Only once it returns, in different forms, until awareness ripens and understanding awakens within the seeker. We see this clearly in the journey of Vishwamitra. First came desire, then anger, then deeper refinement, and finally realization. Not one test, but several stages of progressive awakening, not punishment, but the patient refinement of the soul. And even today, the tests of focus rarely arrive as obstacles. More often, they appear as something pleasant, like praise, comfort, attention, recognition, emotional distraction, gentle diversions that quietly pull the mind away. The churning of one's life, whether spiritual, creative, or personal, inevitably brings moments of allure. But the question is never, why did beauty appear? The deeper question is this: did awareness remain steady when beauty appeared? In this way, the story of the Apsaras is not merely ancient, it is timeless and profoundly human. It reminds the seeker of the importance of discernment, the quiet ability to see clearly, to choose wisely, and remain steady amidst attraction and praise. For life does not challenge us only through hardship. Often, it challenges us through choices wrapped in beauty and ease. In such moments, it is not the presence of allure that shapes destiny. It is the discernment with which one responds. In Sanatan philosophy, this discernment is called viveka, not the rejection of beauty, not fear of the world, but clarity. In response, seen in this light, the appearance of the Apsaras does not disturb the path, it refines the seeker walking upon it. For beauty does not divert the sincere heart, it deepens awareness, strengthens discernment, and steadies the soul. Beyond the stories of testing and spiritual refinement, the Apsaras reveal another profound dimension of the cosmos. They embody the power of aesthetic Shakti. In the vast vision of Sanatan philosophy, the universe is not merely a structure of laws and forces. It is also a living tapestry of rhythm, of color, of melody, and of movement. The wind moves through the forests, Like a quiet dancer, rivers flow across the earth. In graceful, unbroken curves, moonlight glides across the night sky. Like a performer upon a celestial stage, creation itself is an act of divine artistry. And within this cosmic theater, the Apsaras appear, not only as celestial beings, but as living expressions of beauty, of harmony, and of artistic grace. The scriptures often describe the celestial courts of the gods, especially the radiant city of Amaravati in the realm of Indra. These luminous halls are filled with music, with movement, and with celebration. There, the Gandharvas sing melodies that seem to carry the fragrance of the heavens. Their music flows like sacred rivers of sound, moving gently through the halls of the divine assembly, and among them moved the Apsaras, luminous dancers, whose every movement embodies the elegance of cosmic rhythm. Urvashi, Rambha, Menaka, Tilottama, Gritachi. Their names echo through many scriptures, not merely as characters, but as symbols of the divine aesthetic principle. Their dance is not entertainment alone. It reveals a deeper truth. Beauty itself is a sacred language of the universe, just as mantra expresses divine sound and yajna expresses sacred offering. So too dance and music, which become expressions of divine harmony. In the many traditions of Sanatan culture, artistic expression has never been separate from devotion. Temple architecture rises like poetry carved in stone, where every pillar and every form becomes a silent offering to the divine. Classical dance traditions such as Bharatanatyam and Odissi transform sacred stories into living movement, where each gesture carries meaning and each step becomes an expression of prayer. Music too becomes a form of devotion. It flows through ragas that reflect the moods of nature and the quiet rhythm of changing seasons. These traditions reflect an ancient understanding that art is not separate from spirituality. It is one of the ways the human soul participates in the beauty of creation. In this light, the presence of the Apsaras within the celestial realms begins to reveal a deeper meaning. Aesthetic expression is not merely ornamentation, it is a manifestation of Shakti itself. If the universe were governed only by power and discipline, creation might become rigid and severe. Yet the world unfolds with a quiet tenderness that softens its very structure. Flowers bloom gently along forest paths, offering their beauty without seeking to be seen. Birdsong rises at dawn without command, filling the air with a melody that belongs to no one, yet nourishes all who hear it. Clouds drift across the sky, painting ever-changing landscapes that bring movement, softness, and balance to the vastness above. These subtle expressions of beauty do more than decorate existence. They soften it. They bring harmony to the rhythms of life. The Apsaras represent this gentle dimension of creation. They embody a grace that brings refinement, joy, and inspiration into the worlds. Through their presence, a deeper truth begins to reveal itself. Spiritual life is not only about austerity and discipline. It is also filled with wonder, elegance, and the quiet delight of divine artistry. In Sanatan philosophy, beauty is not seen as a distraction from the sacred. It can become a doorway to it. A moment of music can quiet the restless mind, while a graceful movement can awaken a sense of reverence. A work of art can touch the heart in ways that words cannot fully express. When perceived with awareness, beauty becomes a reminder of the divine harmony that underlies existence. Seen in this light, the Apsaras are not merely celestial dancers in distant heavens. They symbolize an eternal truth that the divine expresses itself not only through wisdom and power, but also through beauty, grace, and art. In many spiritual traditions, austerity and beauty are often seen as opposites, one associated with restraint and discipline, the other with pleasure and sensory experience. Yet, Sanatan philosophy rarely views the world through such rigid divisions. The same universe that gives rise to sages deep in meditation also unfolds fields of flowers, rivers that sing through valleys, and skies painted with changing colors at dawn and dusk. Creation holds both stillness and movement, austerity and grace. The sages who practiced intense tapas understood this balance. Tapas generated spiritual power, the inner heat that purified the mind and strengthened awareness. And yet, the world around them was never devoid of beauty. Forests whispered with bird song, lotus ponds shimmered beneath sunlight, and gentle breezes carried the fragrance of flowering trees. Even the places where sages meditated were filled with a quiet aesthetic presence, the cosmic balance. In the ancient imagination of the scriptures, the universe does not function through extremes alone. It moves through balance, through a quiet harmony that holds all things together. Discipline, when it exists without beauty, can become rigid, even harsh. And beauty, when it is not guided by awareness, can gently turn into distraction. Sanatan thought, therefore, speaks not of rejection, but of equilibrium, a subtle alignment between these forces. This balance appears again and again in the sacred narratives, like a recurring truth woven through time. When the great Samudra Manthan unfolded, the universe did not reveal only danger or power. It did not offer only poison nor only strength. Instead, from the same churning emerged gifts of refinement and grace. There arose the divine physician, Dhanvantari, bringing healing into creation. The wish-fulfilling tree Kalpavriksha, symbolizing abundance beyond desire. The radiant goddess Lakshmi, embodying prosperity and divine harmony. And the enchanting Apsaras, carrying beauty, movement, and grace. Their presence reminds us that creation does not unfold through force alone. It blossoms through harmony. The Bhagavata Purana, in its narration of this cosmic churning, offers a profound vision of existence. From the same ocean arise many treasures, each reflecting a different dimension of life. Power, healing, abundance, beauty, wisdom, all emerging not separately, but together from the same cosmic process. Dance, music, and the language of the gods. In the celestial realms, the Apsaras are rarely described alone. Their presence is almost always accompanied by another, the Gandharvas. Many scriptures speak of divine assemblies where Gandharvas sing and Apsaras dance, filling the celestial courts with a living rhythm of music and movement. These visions appear in texts such as the Mahabharata and the Puranas, where the heavenly worlds are not portrayed as austere or distant, but as realms where art and devotion exist together in harmony. The Gandharvas represent the refinement of sound, sacred music shaped with intention and awareness. The Apsaras embody the refinement of movement, sacred dance flowing with grace and expression. Together, they reveal a profound idea that art itself can become a language through which the divine expresses joy, balance, and harmony. Over time, this vision gently shaped the cultural traditions of India. Temple arts and classical dance forms began to emerge, not merely as performance but as offering. Forms such as Bharatanatyam, Odyssey, and Kathak became pathways through which sacred stories could be told through movement. In these traditions, the dancer is not simply a performer, but a storyteller. Each gesture becomes a word, each rhythm a sentence, each expression a prayer. And in this way, aesthetic expression transforms into something more. It becomes an extension of spiritual practice, where beauty itself becomes devotion, beauty that elevates. There are moments when beauty does not distract the soul, but gently awakens it. A melody may arise softly in the distance, and suddenly, the restless movements of the mind begins to quiet. A graceful movement, a sacred gesture, the curve of a dancer's hand, or the stillness within a painting may draw awareness inward rather than outward. The ancient seers understood that the human heart responds deeply to beauty, not because beauty exists merely to tempt, but because when perceived with awareness, it can elevate consciousness itself. Sanatan philosophy never taught that all beauty must be rejected. Instead, it revealed that beauty can become sacred when approached with balance, reverence, and inner steadiness. Seen in this light, the Apsaras are not merely symbols of allure. They represent refined aesthetic energy, the graceful dimension of Shakti that uplifts the worlds. Their presence reminds the seeker that harmony itself can become a spiritual path. The sacred feminine as creative expression, and within the vast vision of Sanatan philosophy, the feminine principle extends far beyond nurturing alone. It also expresses itself through creativity, through artistry, through rhythm, elegance, and inspiration. The divine feminine flows through countless forms, through the fierce protection of Goddess Durga, through the nurturing abundance of Goddess Lakshmi, and through Saraswati, the radiant goddess of wisdom, music, learning, and art. The Apsaras, too, belong to this sacred spectrum of feminine energy. They embody the beauty that moves quietly through creation, the subtle artistic pulse of the cosmos itself. And so, the sacred is not found only within temples or scriptures. It also lives within music that stirs the heart, within dance that expresses the inexpressible, within poetry, within color, within rhythm, and within the countless forms of beauty that illuminate the world around us. For when beauty is approached with awareness, it no longer becomes a chain that binds the mind. It becomes a doorway through which the soul remembers the divine, the language of divine art, dance, music, and the celestial expression of beauty. If the universe were completely silent and perfectly still, much of its grandeur might remain unseen. But creation does not remain motionless. It breathes, it flows, it sways gently through time. The winds move across the earth, rivers travel toward the sea, trees bend softly beneath the sky. The stars themselves drift silently across the vastness of night. Existence unfolds through rhythm, and in the vision of the ancient seers, the cosmos was never understood as matter alone. It was perceived as something living, a vast and sacred movement woven through sound, harmony, beauty, and motion. To them, creation itself resembled a cosmic theater, where every movement carried meaning, and every vibration revealed a deeper layer of existence. Within this celestial vision appear the Apsaras. Their dance reflects the elegance of cosmic motion itself. Their graceful movements mirror the flowing of rivers, the swaying of trees in the wind, and the quiet rhythm through which the stars journey across the heavens. Seen in this light, their dance is not merely entertainment. It becomes symbolic, a living expression of the universe in motion. And perhaps this is why sacred traditions across time have so often turned toward music, dance, poetry, and art. Because there are truths the soul can feel long before the mind is able to explain them. Sometimes beauty itself becomes a form of wisdom, and through rhythm, movement, and harmony, the universe quietly reveals its hidden language, the codes of the celestial realms. Many ancient scriptures describe the heavenly realms not as empty worlds of abstraction, but as luminous realms where beauty, wisdom, artistry, and divine order exist together in harmony. In the celestial city of Amaravati, the radiant court of Indra, music and graceful movement are said to fill the divine halls. The Gandharvas, renowned as heavenly musicians, send melodies flowing across the celestial worlds, like streams of light moving through space, and among them move the Apsaras, graceful celestial dancers whose presence reflects refinement, joy, beauty, and the quiet elegance woven into creation itself. The Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and many of the Puranas describe these luminous assemblies where music and dance form part of the sacred atmosphere of the heavens. Within these ancient narratives, the arts are never treated as something trivial or decorative alone. They are expressions of cosmic harmony, just as sacred mantras create vibration that transforms inner awareness. Music and dance also become subtle languages through which the divine expresses itself. The movement of the body, the resonance of sound, the unfolding of melody, all become reflections of something greater than human performance alone. They become reminders that creation itself is alive with sacred rhythm. And perhaps this is why beauty has always remained close to the spiritual path. Because in moments of deep stillness, a melody may open the heart, a movement may awaken reverence, and a single moment of grace may allow the soul to briefly remember the harmony from which it came. The sacred origins of artistic expression. In the ancient vision of Sanatan Dharma, art was never seen as mere entertainment. It was understood as something sacred, something capable of lifting the human spirit toward higher awareness. This understanding deeply shaped the cultural traditions of the Indian subcontinent, from the earliest temple rituals to the flowering of classical music and dramatic performance. Art became an offering to the divine. The great sage Bharata Muni, through the wisdom of the Natya Shastra, described drama and dance as sacred art forms created for the upliftment of humanity. According to this tradition, performance is not simply spectacle, nor is it meant only for amusement. It becomes a living language through which moral insight, spiritual symbolism, and emotional refinement are gently conveyed to the human heart. Through gesture, rhythm, expression, and movement, the performer slowly transforms into a bridge between the earthly and the divine. A raised hand may express compassion, a glance may reveal longing, a rhythm may awaken devotion, and a single movement may communicate truths that words alone cannot contain. This philosophy echoes beautifully through the symbolic presence of the Apsaras. Their celestial dance is not presented merely as beauty to admire. It reminds humanity that beauty itself can become a sacred language, a form through which the universe expresses harmony, grace, and divine presence. And so, through sacred art, the human soul is invited not only to observe beauty, but to experience it as a pathway toward the eternal. Beauty as sacred communication. Human beings have always responded deeply to beauty. There are moments when a melody awakens emotions that words alone could never fully express. There are moments when a graceful movement, a sacred image, or even a gentle rhythm touches something ancient within the heart. The sages of Sanatan Dharma recognized this truth long ago. They understood that art possesses a quiet power, a power capable of reaching places that logic and language often cannot. And so, rather than dismissing beauty as mere distraction, Sanatan philosophy embraces it as part of spiritual experience itself. For when approached with awareness, beauty slowly transforms. It ceases to become simple attraction and begins to awaken contemplation. Music may soften the restless mind. Dance may carry divine stories across generations. Poetry may illuminate truths that ordinary speech struggles to contain. And gradually, through rhythm, expression, and sacred feeling, the human heart becomes more receptive to stillness, to reflection, and to the presence of the divine. In this way, art becomes more than creativity. It becomes communion. A sacred song may awaken devotion. A graceful performance may stir forgotten longing for the eternal. A moment of beauty may leave behind a silence more meaningful than words. And perhaps this is why the ancient world gave such importance to music, dance, poetry, and sacred performance. For the divine does not communicate only through scripture or philosophy. Sometimes it speaks through harmony, sometimes through emotion, sometimes through stillness carried inside beauty itself. And so, through aesthetic expression, the eternal continues to whisper gently to the human soul. The Apsaras as symbols of refined grace. Within this vision of the cosmos, the Apsaras stand as symbols of refined beauty and artistic excellence. They embody grace, elegance, and fluid harmony that characterizes the universe itself. Their presence within the celestial realms reminds us that creation is not governed by discipline and power alone. It also unfolds through joy, creativity, and aesthetic wonder. Seen in this way, the Apsaras represent a subtle dimension of Shakti, which is the creative energy that animates the cosmos and brings beauty into form. Beauty, as a reflection of the divine order, is revealed through harmony, balance, and the subtle intelligence of creation. When the ancient seers looked upon the world, they did not see beauty as random decorations scattered across existence. They perceived a pattern, the turning of seasons, the rhythm of the tides, the blooming and fading of flowers, the rising and setting of the sun. Everything seemed to move according to a subtle harmony. Within this harmony, they recognized a deeper principle, what later traditions would call Rita, the underlying order that sustains the universe. In Vedic thought, Rita is the rhythm behind nature, the order behind the movement of stars and seasons, the balance that sustains life, and the truth that keeps creation aligned with the divine. The sages observed that the sun rises and sets, seasons return, rivers flow, and life is born, grows, and fades, all according to a deeper sacred order. That underlying harmony was called Rita. Later concepts such as Dharma, karma, and cosmic balance evolved from this earlier Vedic understanding. Seen through this vision, beauty is not accidental. It is one of the ways in which the hidden order of creation becomes visible, harmony in the natural world. Consider the quiet symmetry of a lotus unfolding at dawn. Its petals open with perfect proportion, neither hurried nor delayed. Or observe the flight of birds across the evening sky, forming shifting patterns that seem almost choreographed by an unseen hand. Moments like these reveal a truth the ancient sages often expressed through poetry and myth. Creation itself behaves like a vast work of art. And within this living artwork, the Apsaras symbolize the graceful movement that keeps the cosmic performance alive. Their dance reflects the deeper harmony that sustains the worlds. The universe as a living symphony. Many sacred texts describe creation not as mechanical, but as rhythmic. The Bhagavad Gita speaks of a universe that is sustained through balance and mutual support. The Vedas celebrate the harmony of natural forces, praising the wind, the sacred fire, the dawn, and the flowing rivers. In these ancient hymns, existence unfolds like a vast symphony. Countless elements move together in coordinated balance. Within this cosmic music, the Apsaras represent the flowing melody of beauty. They remind us that the universe is not sustained by discipline alone, but also by grace, the balance between power and grace. Earlier in this reflection, we spoke of tapas, the inner heat of spiritual discipline that strengthens the seeker. Yet, the cosmos does not unfold through austerity alone. It also expresses tenderness, softness, and grace. Without grace, discipline may become rigid. Without beauty, strength itself may become severe. And so, the presence of aesthetic Shakti restores balance within creation. Within this balance lies a quiet truth. Power may build the structure of existence, but beauty is what gives life its meaning. It is beauty that softens strength and grace that allows wisdom to become compassionate. The universe, therefore, is not sustained by force alone. It is sustained by harmony, which is created by the delicate balance between discipline and tenderness, power and beauty, stillness and expression. The subtle invitation of beauty. When the human heart encounters beauty, something within it responds instinctively. A breathtaking landscape may inspire silence. A melody may awaken emotions long forgotten. A graceful movement may evoke reverence without a single word being spoken. These moments reveal that the human soul is deeply attuned to harmony. The ancient sages understood that such experiences can become quiet doorways to spiritual awareness. Beauty does not always pull the mind outward into distraction. Sometimes, it gently draws the mind inward, guiding attention toward the deeper intelligence that shapes creation itself. And so, the Apsaras, in their symbolic presence, remind us of a profound yet quiet truth. The universe is not sustained by laws and forces alone. It is also illuminated by grace. For beneath the visible structure of existence lives something softer, something luminous, a sacred beauty that silently calls the soul back toward wonder, beauty, and awareness, and the seeker's response to the world. If beauty is woven into the fabric of creation, then the real question is not whether beauty exists, but how the seeker encounters it. Across the stories of sages and celestial beings, beauty appears again and again. Sometimes it comes as inspiration, sometimes as distraction, and sometimes as revelation. Yet the deeper teaching within these sacred narratives does not lie in the presence of beauty itself. It lies in the awareness with which it is perceived. The ancient sages never denied beauty. They meditated in forests filled with birdsong, beneath skies painted with the colors of dawn and twilight. Lotus flowers bloomed beside their hermitages, and rivers flowed quietly near their places of contemplation. Beauty was never absent from the spiritual path. What truly mattered was the steadiness of the mind that encountered it. Awareness as the guiding light. In this context, awareness means inner consciousness, attentiveness of the mind, spiritual wakefulness, and the ability to observe without immediately becoming lost in attraction or distraction. When awareness is steady, beauty uplifts the heart. It becomes a doorway into the deeper harmony, flowing through creation, awakening gratitude and reverence within the soul. But when awareness begins to waver, the very same beauty may stir attachment, distraction, or restlessness within the mind. For this reason, the teachings of the sages never condemn beauty itself. Instead, they encourage the cultivation of awareness and discernment. The seeker learns to appreciate the grace of the world while remaining inwardly balanced. In this way, beauty becomes neither enemy nor temptation. It becomes a mirror, quietly revealing the maturity of the mind that beholds it. The Apsaras as a symbol of cosmic grace. Within this deeper understanding, the Apsaras begin to take on a profound symbolic meaning. They are not merely celestial dancers, nor simply figures of myth. They represent the graceful dimension of existence, the beauty that flows through creation, like a gentle current moving quietly through the worlds. At times, that beauty tests the focus of the seeker. At other times, it awakens wonder, creativity, and devotion within the human heart. Yet, in both cases, its presence reveals something deeper, something about the inner state of the one who beholds that beauty. And so, the stories of the Apsaras offer a quiet reminder. The world is filled with forms of beauty, but the true measure of the spiritual journey lies in the awareness with which one walks through that beauty, a quiet realization. As these stories continue to unfold, a quiet understanding begins to emerge. The universe is not divided between the sacred and the beautiful. Rather, beauty itself becomes one of the ways through which the sacred reveals its presence. The dance of the Apsaras, the music of the Gandharvas, the symmetry of flowers, and the gentle rhythms of nature all reflect the subtle harmony that sustains the worlds. Within that harmony, the seeker continues the journey, learning not to escape the beauty of life, but to encounter it with clarity, balance, and wisdom. Lessons from the story of the Apsaras. The stories of the Apsaras remind us that beauty is not inherently a distraction. It becomes uplifting or distracting, depending upon the steadiness of the mind that encounters it. The discipline of tapas builds inner strength and clarity. Yet the spiritual path is not lived in isolation from the beauty of the world, but in awareness of it. In many scriptural narratives, beauty appears as a mirror. It does not create weakness. Rather, it simply reveals the attachments that may still remain within the mind. In everyday life, beauty appears in many forms, not only in attraction between individuals, but also as comfort, praise, recognition, or appealing opportunities that gently draw attention away from deeper priorities. A student preparing for an important examination may encounter invitations to leisure or distraction. A writer or artist working upon meaningful creation may feel drawn toward easier diversions rather than sustained effort. In such moments, the challenge is not to reject beauty, but to choose with clarity. When awareness remains steady, beauty may inspire creativity, gratitude, and appreciation for the harmony of creation. But when awareness becomes clouded, the same beauty may lead toward distraction or attachment. For this reason, Sanatan philosophy emphasizes viveka, also known as discernment, not the suppression of beauty and not fear of the world, but the wisdom to respond with balance and clarity. And so, the Apsaras, in their deeper symbolic role, remind us that the world contains both discipline and grace. The seeker's journey lies in learning how to walk through that beauty with awareness. Conclusion. Thus, the story of the Apsaras unfolds across the pages of ancient scripture, not merely as tales of celestial dancers or episodes of temptation, but as reflections of a deeper cosmic wisdom. From the churning of the great ocean to the quiet forests where sages practiced austerity, beauty appears again and again within the fabric of existence. Sometimes it inspires wonder, sometimes it reveals the hidden tendencies of the mind, and sometimes it simply reminds us that creation itself moves through rhythm, grace, and harmony. The presence of the Apsaras, therefore, carries a subtle teaching. The universe does not present beauty to disturb the path of the seeker, but to refine awareness along the journey. For the world is not divided between the sacred and the beautiful. Rather, beauty itself is one of the ways the sacred becomes visible. The seeker who walks through life with steady awareness begins to recognize a quiet truth that discipline and grace, tapas and aesthetic shakti, austerity and beauty are not opposing forces. They are complementary expressions of the same cosmic order. And so the tale closes like a lamp's final flicker, quiet, warm, steady. The Bhagavatam does not end with a story. It leaves the reader with an invitation to walk through the beauty of the world with discernment, balance, and a heart anchored in awareness.